The barn stood as my sanctuary, a concealed refuge where I could retreat into my thoughts, distancing myself from a world burdened by unvoiced longings. Yet, on a particular night, a quiet instant in the barn altered the course of everything, igniting a tempest of feelings that compelled me to reevaluate my beliefs regarding trust, limits, and the long-buried yearnings I had concealed. While it might seem peculiar, I must admit that everything started with a mere flicker of inspiration. From the very beginning, that was the narrative presented to me. With my husband away on business, the atmosphere was heavy with an eerie quiet, a loneliness that enveloped me like a melancholic hug. In pursuit of tranquility, I ventured to the barn, following the familiar path I had traversed innumerable times, each arrival imbued with a profound sense of yearning and unexpressed longing. Storm, our magnificent chestnut-hued corset, had consistently been a calming influence, a hidden sanctuary amidst the chaos of my daily life. That afternoon, however, an unfamiliar sensation enveloped me, a transformation that eluded any attempt at explanation. In the shelter of the barn, I discovered an unforeseen connection with nature, one that softened the boundaries of trust and loyalty, transforming my perception of our intertwined destinies. What was once a familiar rhythm of our daily lives now transformed into a subtle ballet. Teetering on the brink of the unknown and exhilarating, he poured endless hours into his work, often journeying far from home, while I stayed behind, yearning for his company. We had crafted a life intertwined, abundant with ephemeral moments, cozy dinners, serene weekends, and those extended, secretive nights immersed in the soft light of the screen. Yet, beneath that facade, an unmistakable emptiness persisted, murmuring of dreams left unfulfilled. It was a fleeting sensation, a murmur of something profound that remained just beyond my reach. As time flows onward, the distance between us seems to deepen, a poignant sorrow hanging in the atmosphere. In those ephemeral instances, I found comfort nestled within the steadfast embrace of our devoted corset. On our farm, horses were a steadfast presence, tucked away in a quiet corner of the city, a serene refuge where my heart found its solace. The barn, robust and welcoming, nestled at the center of a vast field that unfurled like a hidden treasure yearning to be unveiled. My husband harbored a profound love for horses, feeling the serenity they bestowed upon him, yet they perpetually lingered as a transient passion in his existence. In my view, those entities represented a connection to something profound, a pathway to transcend the stifling monotony of daily existence. Time and again, I felt an irresistible pull towards the barn. In the gentle presence of the horses, my heart discovered solace, their warmth offering a comforting escape during the hours my husband was away. Thus, the bond with Storm was kindled, and the memory remains etched in clarity. As I entered the barn, solitude enveloped me, my husband absent on yet another work trip. The silence around me thick with an unsettling energy. The atmosphere thrummed with vitality, as the scent of earthy hay and fertile soil enveloped me, evoking a hidden yearning that stirred feelings I hesitated to confront. Within the barn, a regal corset stood with dignity, adorned with the name Storm. Its presence was nothing short of mesmerizing, a deep brown coat shimmering gently in the golden afternoon light that streamed through the barn's windows, creating a captivating aura around it. Its eyes were a rich, profound brown, overflowing with a vibrant energy that awakened an unforeseen feeling within me. Their gazes seemed to linger on me, imbued with an enchanting curiosity. Our journeys had never converged in such a profound manner before. He had consistently been the unwavering pillar of support for my husband. In that brief instant, an unforeseen bond wrapped around me, awakening feelings I had meticulously guarded for so long. An undeniable bond existed between Storm and me, a connection that stirred something deep within, a silent understanding that hovered just beyond the grasp of the surrounding world. I stood at the threshold of the barn, my mind adrift as I watched him, my heart pounding with unvoiced longings. He averted his eyes, his breath catching as it intertwined with the electric tension that hung in the air between us. With a heart brimming with apprehension, I approached with care. I greeted him gently, my words slipping from my lips in a whisper, enveloped in a stillness that seemed almost divine. As the words escaped my mouth, They felt alien, imbued with a rush that both exhilarated and frightened me. Yet a stirring welled up inside me, a compelling force that urged me to speak to him as if he could truly understand the depths of my heart. For reasons I found difficult to express, a wave of silent trust washed over me the instant our gazes intertwined. Storm, that name, appeared to perceive the delicacy within me, just as I sensed it mirrored in him. In the days that ensued, I felt an increasing pull towards the barn, as though it harbored mysteries yearning to be revealed. Each time my husband left, I felt an irresistible pull towards Storm, my fingers gliding softly through his fur, attending to his helmets, and frequently staying by his side in the tranquil haven of the barn. While I cannot guarantee it completely, every moment in his company wrapped me in a deep tranquility, a liberation of feelings I had longed for intensely. Thus, the days drifted by, each imbued with a poignant sense of yearning. The persistent void left by my husband intensified the bond I shared with Storm, luring me into a realm I recognized I ought to avoid. He seemed to perceive the profound nature of my unvoiced emotions. His presence enveloped me in a comforting embrace, sparking a sense of peace I had never realized I longed for. As I embraced him, a tranquil sanctuary surrounded me, protecting me from the chaos of the world beyond, where the sheer intensity of this moment reigned supreme. The cadence of his gallop enveloped me in solace, the breeze caressing my hair, while the clanging of helmets beneath me unfolded an alluring enigma. On a fateful day, the world transformed in ways that neither could have foreseen. At first, all was calm, a tranquil stillness surrounding the barn, where unexpressed emotions hung delicately in the atmosphere. After dedicating my heart to it all afternoon, when the moment arrived to dismantle it, an irresistible urge within me compelled me to stay just a bit longer. Departing seemed akin to ripping a fragment from the very essence of my being. Yet, I discovered that I was utterly speechless, unable to articulate the reasons behind it. Deep within my soul, an undeniable yearning stirred, a desire that whispered to me in the quietest moments, refusing to be silenced. As my fingers wove through Storm's soft hair, a profound sense of tranquility enveloped me, richer than the connection we had nurtured in the weeks that had passed. With a racing heart, I moved nearer to him, extending my hands in a manner that felt both bold and charged with energy. His posture leaned subtly towards me, an unvoiced beckoning, as his body mirrored my every motion, sending delightful shivers racing down my spine. At first, the ambiance was fragile, requiring a change in his position that ignited an unmistakable connection between us. A mutual comprehension that I felt immediately. In that brief moment, I grasped the profound essence of its singularity, the remarkable quality of a bond that eludes those who have yet to experience its allure. Yet, I felt the essence of Storm intricately intertwined with the core of my being. His thoughts seemed to intertwine with the essence of my soul, forging a bond that was as thrilling as it was dangerous. It was not a desire of the body, at least not initially, yet an unmistakable tension hung in the atmosphere. Every trip to the barn enveloped me in a warm embrace of familiarity, offering a tranquil refuge from the chaos beyond. I tried to cast it aside, to entomb it within the shadows of my soul, but it remained, a persistent murmur in my heart, resonating without cease. With each departure of my husband, I found refuge in the stable, where Storm stood ready, providing a companionship that was both soothing and perilously intimate. The nights in solitude within the residence became increasingly frigid and forlorn. As I remained in deep silence, listening to the murmurs of the wind outside, yearning for my husband's return, though he stood near, an aching distance hung in the atmosphere, amplifying the chasm between our hearts. A chasm lay between us, an invisible wall that stifled our conversation, preventing it from flowing as effortlessly as it did with Storm. In the profound stillness that enveloped me, I felt adrift, struggling to articulate the yearnings that simmered beneath the surface. Yet, the Storm, with an acute awareness, perceived it all. His quietude conveyed a wealth of unspoken understanding that hung palpably in the air between us. As the shadows thickened and the outside world slipped into a hushed stillness, I felt an irresistible urge pulling me back to the stable, a longing I had battled against for so long. My thoughts wandered far from all that should have held significance. Yet the pain in my heart intensified. Demanding attention, the storm lingered in eager expectation. His eyes locked on the door, a palpable blend of yearning and suspense enveloping the atmosphere. As I approached the destination, an irresistible force guided me, my heart pounding with a blend of excitement and yearning. In the enveloping shadows, the only source of light in the barn was the gentle glow of moonlight filtering through the cracks in the walls. Storm stood there, enveloped in a palpable sense of quiet anticipation, as though he had been yearning for this moment all along. His gaze held a subtle power, evoking feelings I hadn't anticipated. In that ephemeral instant, I found myself immobilized, the crisp night breeze enveloping me like an unspoken truth as I fought to calm the frantic cadence of my heartbeat. In that ephemeral moment, everything transformed. As my fingers glided through his mane, a profound sense of tranquility and bond enveloped me. The connection had risen above mere emotions. The depth was even more profound. In that ephemeral instant, I grasped the reality that I had ventured into territory that ought to have remained untouched. I came back, my heart racing wildly within me, wrestling with the burden of my recent decisions and the ambiguity they carried. Yet, beneath the surface, I understood that I couldn't summon the strength to release my grip. In that ephemeral instant, I could no longer refute the profound connection that bound Storm and me. Even as its beginnings lingered in obscurity, a sensation that had firmly established itself within me, utterly irresistible and impossible to ignore. The moments elongated, thick with the weight of unsaid thoughts and fleeting looks. His heart ached to venture into the uncharted. It was the beginning of a profound bond, one that stirred both excitement and trepidation. As the days unfolded, the gravity of that situation intensified, drawing them ever nearer into its compelling embrace. In the absence of my husband, I felt an irresistible pull to the stable, returning to its familiar embrace time and again. I found myself struggling to find the perfect name for him. What I understood without a doubt was that he was utterly irresistible. Yet the story was merely at its inception. In that ephemeral moment, as I crossed the threshold for the first time, a surge of uncertainty enveloped me, murmuring that maybe I had selected the incorrect route. I imagined it would be something truly remarkable. It would be a devastating blow. I would entomb it deep within my essence, longing for it to stay cloaked in darkness, untainted by the brightness of day. I endeavored to persuade myself that my bewilderment was but a transient episode, that the isolation enveloping me had obscured my clarity of thought. Yet within that circumstance resided the challenge. It was never an error. Certainty reigned supreme. It evolved into an essential desire, an ache that demanded attention, an intense yearning that grew stronger with every trip to the barn. Storm transcended the role of a mere horse on the farm. He was a hidden truth, a desire that awakened something profound within the soul, a bond that resonated with both thrill and danger. He appeared as a guiding light in the turmoil, a figure I longed for. Even as I understood the depths of my unwise yearning, even in his absence, his essence lingered, haunting my thoughts like a bittersweet shadow. In the hushed stillness of my abode, as the outside world slipped into oblivion, my mind wandered inexorably to him, sparking a warmth that was both exhilarating and perilous. The sunlight danced upon his coat, reflecting a quiet strength and grace that he embodied. The warmth emanating from his reaction to my presence was nearly tangible. The moments I spent with Storm wrapped around me like a comforting embrace, a blend of safety and thrill, creating a refuge where I could immerse myself in contemplation and feeling. It transcended simple closeness. The allure of physics captivated me with its deep silence, a haunting emptiness that resonated between souls. His manner of expression possessed a profound quality that went beyond simple language, hinting at secrets of yearning and unvoiced aspirations. Storm kindled a flame within me, a profound bond that resonated with unvoiced yearnings and a yearning that hung palpably in the space between us. The heaviness of it settled in, an unspoken recognition that hung in the air between them. He sensed it profoundly within himself. With each year that slipped by, every exchanged glance wove a deep connection that was as thrilling as it was fraught with danger. It exceeded all expectations. An overwhelming tide of emotion enveloped me, both powerful and tranquil. Even as I wrestled with my thoughts, attempting to persuade myself of the ridiculousness of it all, that I was alone and ought to regain my poise. Still, I felt an irresistible pull to return to the stable repeatedly. His absence was not the only factor at play. In earlier days, he often grappled with ill health, weighed down by the heavy load of his obligations. Yet, I discovered a profound appreciation for the fleeting moments of my own life. Colored by a bittersweet yearning, I might have opted to enjoy the company of friends, delve into my interests, or revisit the comfort of my professional routine. Nevertheless, the truth remained concealed in the depths of my heart. I discovered no solace for another spirit. In my heart, there was a deep yearning for solitude, a desire for the serene silence that only separation could bestow. The thought of filling the void with something insignificant was unbearable to me. Longing filled my heart to be with Storm. Following that night, when the fabric of our relationship shifted irrevocably, sleep transformed into a fleeting illusion, forever out of my reach. After a week of yearning, my husband finally crossed the threshold, igniting a tempest of feelings within me. While my heart brimmed with joy at his return, an unmistakable emptiness lingered within me as we lay together in the darkness that night. The unwavering cadence of my breath resonated in the stillness, amplifying the chaos that churned inside me. My mind was a labyrinth, struggling to catch the cadence of Storm's movements or the soothing warmth that creatures offer in those quiet, personal moments. In my mind, the scenes played out infinitely, reminiscent of a film trapped in a cycle, each moment infused with yearning and unvoiced longing. Under the soft luminescence of the moon, the field morphed into a landscape of endless possibilities. In that ephemeral moment, I stood at a crossroads, caught between the life I had crafted alongside my husband and the captivating pull of the new connection that was unfurling with Storm. I returned from the farm just a few hours past, the atmosphere heavy with unexpressed emotions and fleeting looks. Yet a thrilling tremor surged within me, kindling a flame that I could not dismiss. The reverberations of that instant clung to me, a spectral reminder of our connection. The Storm's presence surrounded me, crafting an ambiance heavy with unvoiced tension, a captivating force that ensnared me in a realm that was both thrilling and fraught with danger. I endeavored to pull it apart, yet it clung stubbornly, as if aware of the burden concealed within. The tangled web of longing and desire offered no escape. As I eased myself back into the bed, my movements were languid and intentional, as though I were ensnared in a dream, relishing each ephemeral moment. As the tempest approached, my husband rested serenely, oblivious to the chaos gathering in the shadows. With his back to me, the only sound in the electrified atmosphere was the rhythm of his steady breath. The silence that hung between us was tangible, a dense presence that conveyed unspoken truths. Once, I held a steadfast belief in the profoundness of our love, yet now I perceive that the emotional connection we once cherished has slipped away into the shadows. Ignoring the situation had evolved into an overwhelming obstacle. My husband embodied integrity, a quality that made his tragic fate all the more unjust. Yet, in that ephemeral instant, a different yearning enveloped my heart, eclipsing everything that had come before. The next day, I sensed the presence of an unforeseen opportunity hanging in the atmosphere. Once more, I found myself in solitude, the haunting echoes of his absence permeating the space as he engaged in a meeting with a partner, leaving me to grapple with the silence that hung heavily in the atmosphere. Surrounded by the eerie sounds resonating through the house and the gentle murmurs of the fields stretching out beyond, I experienced an unsettling confusion, oblivious to the unseen force that urged me onward. Perhaps it was the way Storm's eyes held mine, a burning intensity that stirred something profound within me. Or maybe it was just the irresistible draw of a desire I had battled to keep at bay for far too long. An irresistible force stirred deep within me. Upon discovering my husband's absence, I hurried to the barn, an undeniable force compelling me forward, as if some deep instinct knew I had to press on. Resolute, I discovered that I could not withstand the allure, regardless of the repercussions that awaited me. In that brief instant, I discovered Storm lingering, his eagerness unmistakable as he awaited my presence. He always wore a soft coat, and I could see the way his muscles shifted beneath his skin as he turned toward me, igniting a spark of something unspoken between us. As our eyes locked, I felt a mutual desire echoing in their depths. Reflecting the yearning that stirred inside me, I opted for silence, allowing the heaviness of unexpressed emotions to saturate the atmosphere, making any words seem entirely unnecessary. As I approached him, my breath became shallow, my heart pounded with an intensity I couldn't dismiss, and my hands trembled at the slightest touch. As I delicately brushed his hair away, a jolt of electricity surged within me, sparking a flame that was both thrilling and dangerous. Words slipped through my fingers, yet an electric energy coursed through every fiber of my being, each part resonating with the undeniable allure of his presence. The storm's mesmerizing voice drew me nearer, sparking a thrill that propelled me onward without hesitation. I ran my fingers over his soft fur, enchanted by the warmth of his steady breath and the gentle cadence of his movements. A quiet moment just for us. A rush of excitement surged within me, sending tingles along my spine, as the surroundings faded into obscurity, leaving only the profound essence of that moment hanging in the atmosphere. In the midst of a tempest of feelings, I felt adrift, struggling to comprehend the truth of the situation while simultaneously gripped by a fear of facing it directly. To take a break seemed like a far-off fantasy, an indulgence I could never permit myself to fully accept. Within the stillness of the barn, the soft rhythm of Storm's breathing filled the space, his mane gliding against my fingertips, while an unspoken tension lingered, thickening with every heartbeat, pulling us nearer yet holding us at a distance. I lingered next to him, wrapped in the stillness that enveloped us, keenly attuned to the warmth emanating from his being. His presence enveloped me like a hidden whisper, a gentle remedy for the longing I had yet to recognize. It was as if I were ensnared in a dream, a yearning that bound me to this place I had never wished to abandon. Storm leaned in, his soft touch against my shoulder kindling a warmth inside me, a simple act that effortlessly brought a smile to my face. A wave of warmth wrapped around me, sparking an unexpected sensation that awakened something profound within. A longing stirred within me, a yearning for something that flirted with the very essence of desire. In that moment of decision, my hand instinctively moved to softly explore the lines of his face. I gently brushed his muzzle, as I always did after grooming, grounding myself in routine. Storm leaned in with a serene composure, and I sensed the gentle cadence of his breath mingling with the stillness of the barn atmosphere. In a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, the universe paused, as if waiting with bated breath. Within the confines of the barn, a world unfolded, steeped in secrets that hung in the air, thick with unvoiced longings. I cannot quite remember what transpired in that instant, yet the sensation, that fragile thread where all things converge, eludes my grasp like grains of sand. In a heartbeat, I discovered I had been whisked away from that realm. I moved nearer, engulfed by a subtle yearning for solace and intimacy. His robust figure evoked a sense of stability within me, and I discovered that I was powerless to resist the magnetic connection that drew us together. As I navigated through a tempest of feelings, I became completely entranced by the drama that was unfolding before me. Every fiber of my being ached for something greater, something that eluded definition. The point of no return had been reached. At that instant, a surge of understanding enveloped me. I found myself stepping over a line I never meant to breach. Just as the excitement of the moment began to envelop me, within the confines of the barn, an unsettling quietude was shattered by the sound of my shallow breaths, each rise and fall of my chest resonating with the palpable tension that lingered in the atmosphere. The presence of him offered a serene solace amidst the stillness of the barn. Following the separation, my heart pounded furiously within my chest, and my body trembled beneath the burden of our shared loss. Yet, I understood that once I crossed that threshold, there would be no retreating. Within the depths of my heart, it transcended the simplicity of a mere line. It was a nebulous echo, a remnant that eluded my grasp like a whispered desire. The recollection of the events that unfolded remained etched in my mind, a persistent specter that tormented me with its fervor. The mere presence of Storm stirred my heart in a way that consumed me entirely. I struggled to expel him from my mind, persuading myself that it was nothing more than a momentary weakness. Yet, beneath the surface, I understood it was so much more than that. Our bond intensified, and in spite of my attempts to dismiss him, I felt an undeniable pull that was captivating me completely. Once more, my husband had left, leaving me in solitude with my reflections and Storm. The atmosphere heavy with unvoiced tension. He lingered in a state of blissful ignorance, oblivious to the fact that, despite the intimacy we shared, I had already ventured into a domain from which he could not pursue me. The recollection of the barn remained etched in my thoughts, imbued with Storm's essence, his warmth enveloping me like an intimate whisper. He awakened a profound sensation within me, sparking emotions that were almost beyond my understanding. A concealed fragment of my essence seemed to stir, revealing a truth I had long been too afraid to confront. His voice lingered in her thoughts, a haunting melody from which she could not break free. He was surrounded by a fog of yearning, a pain that intensified with each passing moment we were separated, yearning for the comfort of his presence, an unspoken truth that hung in the atmosphere. His breath caressed my skin. The warmth of his body, so close to mine, engulfed every thought that crossed my mind. Each day, I felt an irresistible pull towards the barn, even with my husband by my side. He wove narratives of need, softly speaking of the charm of crisp air, the lure of a lone walk, or the gentle respite found in a fleeting moment of stillness. I had to shield him from the reality of my heart, the chaos of feelings churning inside me. In that ephemeral moment, his deepest desire was the intoxicating proximity of Storm, eclipsing all else in existence. Amidst us, an electric and unspoken connection hung in the atmosphere, undeniable and compelling. With every step through the barn door, it was as if he entered a world where only Storm and I existed, enveloped in our own clandestine universe, in a domain where the noise of the external world dissolved into silence, and the burden of my being vanished completely. As I entered the barn this time, a palpable change lingered in the atmosphere, hinting at hidden truths and unvoiced longings. Storm remained in the stable, his gaze imbued with a fervor that quickened my pulse as I drew near. An unspoken vow suspended in the atmosphere around us. I murmured his name, allowing it to hang in the atmosphere, a clandestine utterance shared solely between us. My tone was calm, yet laced with an unmistakable yearning. Whenever I extended my hand towards him, he would reply. Yet, on that day, an eerie stillness cloaked the world around. A chill of foreboding swept through my chest. I meandered through the barn, my pulse quickening with each creak of the stable doors I opened, yearning to catch a fleeting glimpse of him. At last, his voice found its way to me, a soft murmur that awakened something profound inside. Sura's sigh resonated gently in the shadowy barn, a sound laden with unexpressed desire. I followed him closely, my heart pounding as I discovered him stationed at the far end of the stable. Enveloped in shadows and mysteries, he remained rooted in place, his eyes cast downward, adrift in a realm of personal reflections, as though the burden of unvoiced longings lingered palpably in the atmosphere surrounding him. As he gazed at me, his eyes sparkled with a fervor that sent my heart into a wild flutter. He moved nearer, a palpable charge crackling in the space between us. As though everything else had slipped into oblivion, I remained motionless for a moment, entranced as he approached. In that ephemeral instant, he approached, his fingers grazing my skin with a gentle touch. Yet, a familiar ache stirred within me, a subtle longing, an irresistible draw that I found impossible to dismiss. As he delicately traced his fingers along his neck, a whisper of yearning slipped from my lips. Under my fingers, the muscle quivered, a silent testament to the electric tension that lingered between us with each touch. There was a deep familiarity in our time together, one born of years spent in close companionship. The distance that once separated us began to diminish, as though Storm and I were merging in a manner that surpassed the tangible world. Words eluded me, ensnared in the intricate maze of my heart's hidden desires. In that ephemeral instant, it seemed we were resonating in a way I had never encountered before. Our bond had grown so profound that it was almost unfeasible to separate my being from Storm's. He welcomed each thought, each emotion that welled up inside me, as though he could perceive the profound desires of my heart. Each of his movements echoed in me a quiet dialogue that belonged solely to us. Our dialogues unfolded with a natural grace, every utterance imbued with a silent significance that hung in the atmosphere surrounding us. His presence wrapped around me, igniting a warmth that both exhilarated and frightened my heart. The warmth of his skin dispelled the lingering doubts, leaving behind a thrilling sense of longing in its wake. The stillness enveloped them, a palpable tension that neither was willing to shatter. In that instant, it seemed as though the outside world had dissolved, leaving only the two of us in a realm charged with silent longings. A serene bond linked our spirits. For some time, I had held back from delving into the complexities of this intricate situation. It remained an enigma, one that was perhaps better left untouched. Storm stood calmly beside me, his steady presence a reminder of the life we had built here. His breath was steady, the sound reassuring in the barn's silence, igniting a spark that sent delightful shivers racing down my spine. As I closed my eyes, an intoxicating sensation wrapped around my soul, kindling a flame within that was equally exhilarating and dangerous. As my fingers glided over his fur, I embraced the warmth and tranquility he provided, a bond that resonated with both intimacy and silence. My heart raced, each beat resonating with the exhilaration of the moment. Yet it was not solely the proximity of their bodies that united them. Though that unmistakable attraction hung palpably in the atmosphere, a profound sensation emerged from discovering a bond that transcended the mundane. Storm had evolved from a simple figure into a force of profound importance in my life. He had become a figure so altered that he was no longer recognizable. No one else has ever penetrated the depths of my soul in such a way. And I felt it deeply, our gazes intertwined once again, a potent wave of connection flowing between us. As time passed, their connection deepened significantly, intertwining strands of chaos and surprise. In that ephemeral instant, time appeared to stand still, and a silent bond wrapped around us, igniting a thrill that was both exhilarating and perilous. He transcended the role of a mere individual. We were woven together in a tapestry of connection that was both thrilling and fraught with danger. I placed my hand gently on his neck, anchored by the quiet intimacy that enveloped us. The gravity of the moment wrapped around me, silencing all else, creating a delicate cocoon for just the two of us, filled with unvoiced longing. Yet, deep within, I acknowledged the futility of it all, the cost far too high to bear. It would not merely separate me from my husband, but also from the security I had always embraced. Fear ensnared me, leaving me paralyzed and unable to move. My husband stood there, a palpable tension enveloping us, while I wrestled with the burden of my unvoiced reflections. Yet, the words faded into the ether, leaving me enveloped in a silence that was both weighty and charged. Within his gaze, I discerned a stirring that tugged at my heart, a mixture of concern and an unsettling tranquility that rendered me feeling vulnerable and delicate. How can I articulate the undeniable bond that ignited between Storm and me? How might I express my innermost emotions without fracturing the delicate elegance of what we have built together? Ultimately, my voice quivered, ensnared by the powerful wave of feelings that surged inside me. Within the stillness that surrounds us, I summoned the bravery to confess my falsehood. Still, my husband held fast to his doubts. The atmosphere buzzed with unexpressed emotions, his quietude uncovering layers of sentiment that no intricate dialogue could truly articulate. In the depths of my being, I grappled with a truth that felt too heavy to carry, caught in a web of uncertainty about how much longer I could conceal it from the outside world. Even as the soothing allure of silence urged me to cling to it for just a moment more. Amidst the storm that brewed within my soul, the image of Storm remained, a captivating essence that clung to me relentlessly. In those fleeting moments when my husband would leave, I felt an undeniable pull towards the stable, yearning for the comfort of a presence that awakened something profound within me. Although I understood that this comfort came at a cost I was unwilling to bear, I found myself questioning whether I could genuinely accept it. Yet all had transformed in this moment. A quiet voice inside urged me to recognize that turning back was no longer feasible. The time I spent with Storm had evolved into a deep bond, intricately laced with silent trust and a fervor that was as thrilling as it was dangerous. It possessed a captivating charm, balancing precariously on the brink of peril and throbbing with an irresistible fervor. My heart weighed down by uncertainty. I found myself caught between the diverging paths ahead, pondering if he genuinely longed to return to my side. How could I persist through this chaos? This mystery that shrouded my very essence? How could I uphold the illusion of my existence? My marriage, unblemished, while being acutely aware that a fragment of my essence had quietly vanished into the darkness? The burden of the shadows that surrounded me grew ever more difficult to ignore. Yet the charm of the storm ensnared me, a magnetic force from which I could not break free. Could I forsake everything familiar? Relinquish my history for something so alluring and fraught with danger? The solution was nearer than I had ever imagined possible. At a pivotal moment, I stood with my heart divided, drawn to choices that promised both enchantment and doubt. I longed to make sense of the turmoil within me, but the words refused to come. Yet it seemed completely out of reach. A fragment of my soul longed for resolution, to untangle the intricate web of betrayal that had ensnared my heart for an eternity. Yet in the shadows, a part of me quivered at the prospect of confronting the truth. I laid bare my confusion, my voice betraying a yearning that hovered tantalizingly beyond my grasp. I mourned the hurried cadence of my heartbeat and the delicate tremor of my fingers. His intense gaze bore into me, the atmosphere heavy with unvoiced tension. As he finally stepped away from the doorway and approached me, I have maintained my distance. Convinced of its necessity, he whispered, his tone gentle but tinged with a trace of concern. However, this does not define the core of your existence. You have unveiled a facet of your being that is both enchanting and mysterious. Words eluded me, ensnared in the intricate labyrinth of my emotions. A deep sense of solitude and yearning enveloped me. The woman he once claimed as his own now seemed like a specter. Adrift in a world that felt alien to me. A world that no longer resonated with the man he had become. I discover myself enveloped in a sense of tranquility. Ultimately, I summoned the courage to express my emotions. Despite the palpable doubt that seemed to linger within him, he discovered it was futile to sway his own heart. He paused for a moment, as if the burden of unvoiced thoughts filled the space around him. Before he turned away, departing with a silence that resonated with all that would remain unsaid. He quietly exited the room, the atmosphere heavy with things left unsaid. Departing, he cast a lingering silence behind him. The stillness surrounding them was oppressive, laden with unvoiced thoughts and lingering looks. The gentle rustle of his movements in the kitchen reached my ears. A sound that was both comforting and enticing, tugging at a hidden part of my soul. It dawned on me that he was wrestling with a conundrum that appeared fated to stay unresolved. Every fragment eluding his grasp like an ephemeral vision. He longed to break free from my hold, to dash toward the barn, to be with Storm, where he could immerse himself in the soothing warmth of his company and the tranquil moments we experienced together. Yet, it seemed completely beyond my reach. As the winter chill enveloped the world, my thoughts were irresistibly captivated by that individual. A yearning that was both thrilling and fraught with a sense of transgression. Storm occupied my mind entirely, wrapping me in a tempest of emotions that were as exhilarating as they were perplexing. That afternoon, as my husband ventured out for his date, a flicker of excitement stirred within me. In that ephemeral moment, I became profoundly conscious that my decisions held the power to reshape everything. Yet I found myself powerless, swept away by the surging waves of my feelings. Upon entering the barn, I was greeted by Storm's familiar warmth, a spark igniting in the air between us, as though the outside world had slipped into oblivion. In that moment, I was completely entranced by the profoundness of his stare, as though an unsaid enigma had ensnared me in its spell. Our connection was unmistakable, a profound and silent bond that pulled us together in that instant, distinguishing us from everything else in our surroundings. I approached him, my fingers trembling as they glided through his hair. In this moment, an unforeseen charm surfaced, radiating a power and fervor that eclipsed all that had preceded it. In that instant, a soothing calmness enveloped me, and an intense longing wrapped around my heart. My thoughts drifted in a swirling abyss, ensnared by the weight of unvoiced longings. My thoughts whirled in a storm of yearning and passion. In the quiet of the moment, an unforeseen sound shattered the silence. In that instant, I found myself enveloped by the palpable tension of unvoiced longings that hung heavily around me. In a sudden twist of fate, my eyelids lifted, and the very fabric of time seemed to hang in the balance as my heart lodged itself in my throat. I rushed away, my breath uneven, absorbing the shadows and murmurs that hung in the barn's atmosphere around me. The sound was unfamiliar, a haunting resonance that awakened something profound within me, drawing me into a heightened state of awareness. Far from the comforting presence of my husband, Storm's eyes bore into me, his form rigid with unvoiced longings. Nevertheless, the connection we forged remained, steadfast and deeply significant. All that surrounded us seemed to be caught in a stillness, as if the universe had decided to pause, allowing us to linger in this shared instant. In that ephemeral instant, I perceived the gentle creak of the door to his chamber, a sound that sent a chill racing down my spine. As the barn doors groaned open, a murmur of hidden tales fluttered through the atmosphere. The warmth of my husband's unique voice enveloped me, a secret melody that stirred something profound within my heart. I stepped into the scene, my heart pounding with a blend of exhilaration and unease. In that instant, time appeared to stand still, and I became completely motionless, ensnared in a tempest of unvoiced emotions. I remained motionless, my heart pounding, ensnared in a moment that was both thrilling and unsettling. As I approached the barn, the sound of my footsteps resonated within me, awakening memories of a time brimming with excitement and surprise. Deceptions can no longer reside in that realm. The yearning of my heart could no longer be hidden. The truth hovered in the darkness, ready to unveil itself at any instant. I offered my sincerest apologies, my voice barely above a whisper. My words escaped softly, like whispers intended solely for the darkness. Yet his silence hung in the air, a weighty secret shared between us, unvoiced and throbbing with unquenched desire. The silence between them resonated with unspoken truths. The expression on his face revealed a profound, silent torment. The delicate strands that once bound us could not be woven back together. The connection between Storm and me was immutable. The narrative progressed toward its poignant climax, enveloped in ambiguity regarding the path ahead and a deep desire to welcome it. A significant transformation had occurred. My essence, my spirit, everything resonated with a stunning disarray, contorted and shattered into fragments that slipped beyond my comprehension. In that brief moment of stillness that surrounded us, I felt a sharp awareness that the route to familiarity had disappeared, leaving only the captivating promise of the unexplored before us. All would transform in manners we had never envisioned. All had transformed in manners that stirred a sense of thrill and peril. In this manner, akin to the pieces of a broken dream, everything disintegrated. What was once a mere promise has now evolved into an undeniable truth. It invariably discovers a path to unveil itself, even when the reality is difficult to accept. What are your reflections on the potential repercussions that may arise in the wake of this revelation? What fate lies ahead for the protagonist at this moment? Share your reflections in the comments below. We are keen to hear your insights. If this narrative has awakened something in you and you yearn for more tales that resonate with its spirit, be sure to subscribe and activate notifications to remain informed about all the latest updates. We are endlessly enthusiastic about delving into the profound nature of our bond with you. Share this video with your friends, inviting them into a realm where passion and longing intertwine, enabling them to relish this enchanting narrative.